You're listening to the Big Cast, your source for the latest in financial technology. Brought to you weekly by the Best Innovation Group, with your hosts, John Best and Glen Sarvati.
Welcome to another edition of the Big Cast. My name is Glen Sarvati on behalf of the Best Innovation Group, where we like to do cool things with financial technology. And today we've got part two of our coverage of Finovate Europe from just about a week or so back, or 2 weeks back, I guess, at this stage of the game. Talking to two more folks, one of the presenters from the mobile phone carrier industry, the GSMA, Samantha Kight, will be joining us talking about some fraud fighting efforts in their industry. And then also one of my favorite presenters from the conference, a very early stage company called Hagbad. You'll be hearing, I think you'll understand why I really enjoyed talking to them and enjoyed seeing them on stage as soon as we get to that. Want to remind you can always find out more about the Best Innovation Group by checking out our website, big-fintech.com. Things are coming together really nicely for the CU Unplugged Unconference. That's taking place in San Francisco at Visa's Market Support Center, starting on March 30th and running through April 2nd. If you've listened to us before, you've heard a little bit about it. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail right now, other than to encourage you to check out the website cu-unplugged.com. We've got a great group of industry leaders, credit union providers, and thought leaders coming out there to discuss, as we love to do around here, the hot topics of the day. And what are those hot topics? Well, we probably know some of them now, and there's probably going to be a few more that pop up between now and March 30th, and we'll make sure that we're covering those too. So we hope to be able to add you to the mix in that conversation over those couple of days. Again, cu-unplugged.com. Check it out. Hope you can join us. This was not a big news story, but a news story that caught my attention late last week that I thought was worthy of a little bit of coverage. We'll post a link to this as well. It was actually based on a Substack that was written by Jared Bernstein, who is the former chair of the Council of Economic Advisors during the Joe Biden administration. He's now doing work with the Center for American Progress. They came up, we all know how big an issue affordability is these days, and they came up with a proposal to potentially address affordability. And the Washington Post picked up on it, which is where I originally heard about it. Interesting ideas and very well laid out. It's pretty transparent in terms of what they're looking to do. One of the things that really caught my attention on this is maybe one of the reasons why affordability seems like such a big deal. We talk about price shocks, we talk about the time during COVID, but even going back before that, according to Jared Bernstein's information from between 2016 and 2019, a 4-year period, food prices barely budged. And I think it was 0.4% at the same time that wages were up by 12%. Then they just kind of discount the 2 years of COVID, 20 and 21, as kind of an aberration. Hard to really draw any conclusions from that. And we know that was part of the genesis of a lot of these concerns about affordability. But let's look at what happened since then, 21 through 25. Food prices, which, as I said, barely budged in those 4 pre-COVID years, were up 18%. And at the same time, according to their data, wages kind of kept pace, but not quite, about 17%. But basically, food was looking a lot cheaper on a relative basis for about a 4-year period beforehand. So he refers to that. That's a shock, because all of a sudden what you thought was kind of par for the course, that things got less expensive, like electronics and things like that, is no longer taking place and being the case. What Jared Bernstein is suggesting is a voluntary price cap that basically sets a 2-year freeze, and the key word there is voluntary, that grocers would agree to this, on a basket of 20 key grocery items, basically freezing the price on those. And the concept here is that they would be kept whole. And here's where I think it gets interesting. In return, what they get, some tariff relief. I'm not exactly sure how that plays out. An increase in SNAP reimbursements, the SNAP program for lower income food buyers, specifically to help encourage more healthy food buying. It's a program that already exists, but to expand that further and provide some more income as an offset to the grocers. And then the last one, swipe fee relief for credit cards. It says credit cards. I assume they're talking about any kind of card payments as well. And they come right out and say in the thing, and this is a direct quote from the blog post, and then there's a full report about how they actually intend to do this. And as always, the devil's in the details. But his comment is, yes, the credit card companies get dinged. Just let that one sit there for a second. With all the talk we've had about interchange fees in the state of Illinois and a 10% rate cap and all that, the punching bag out there right now is certainly the credit card industry. And again, it's not the credit card companies we're talking about here. It's the banks. Let's be clear on who's actually, the ones who are getting the revenue from those swipe fees. There's a component of it that goes to Visa and MasterCard, but that's not the majority. Most of it is going to the card issuers. So we're talking about banks here that are going to take the hit on that. The other thing that I find interesting that I wonder exactly how well thought out this is, we're talking about the grocery industry. The grocery industry is low margin. The grocery industry is pretty concentrated. And those are merchants who have probably negotiated some of the lowest rates, merchant discount rates that are out there. I also have to assume that they're probably among the industries that have the highest use of debit cards as compared to credit cards, which are lower yet again. So exactly how much relief is going to be in there? And then the other piece, of course, is no say in the matter. It's a voluntary program for the grocers. It's just an involuntary kind of swipe of the hand on the swipe fees for the other piece. Thought-provoking piece, didn't like where that went, but to me, the real key kind of takeaway is, boy, our interchange fees in the crosshairs these days, because it's coming at it from all directions, and I just still feels like there's just not a full understanding of exactly how this system works, including from potentially the Center for American Progress, because I can't imagine that they really had thought this through entirely, and I wonder just to what extent they really believe those swipe fees are going to be reduced. We've already spoken to a couple of the companies that really made an impression on me at Finovate Europe in last week's episode. We'll post a link to that as well, so you can go back and hear my interviews with Tweezer and Keyless. But right now, let's first go, before we go to another company that presented, let's talk about an industry representative that was on stage. And again, this is because fraud and security was really front and center in this conversation. Samantha Kight, who is at the GSMA. I'm not sure if it technically, I think it's one of these things that it might just have been an acronym now that's just purely the abbreviation. At one point, that was the Global System for Mobile Communication, which is a trade association responsible for the mobile carrier community. They're doing some really interesting stuff around fraud fighting, and I wanted to track her down. And Samantha, on the eve of a big conference that they've got coming up, was kind enough to take a little bit of time out of a busy schedule to give us a little bit more background. Here was Samantha Kight, the head of industry security for the GSMA, who I saw speak at the Finovate conference in London a couple of weeks ago. Sam, thanks for taking the time. For those of our listeners who may not be familiar with the GSMA, can you just give a quick overview of the mission and the scope of the organization? I know it's a big one.
Yeah, thanks so much, Glenn, and thanks for having me. It's good to be with you today. So the GSMA is the Global Mobile Industry Association. We unite over 1,000 mobile operators and businesses across the ecosystem and related industries. And that does also cover mobile banking, payments, and the financial services. We have a community that runs specifically for them, as well as for other industry verticals that use mobile day to day. And so for us, it's really vital that the mobile ecosystem works closely with financial services industry in order to innovate, maintain digital trust, and that's where we help.
And that's your title is head of industry security for the purposes of this conversation. It's the financial services industry, which the way I think about it, kind of around the time that the iPhone and smartphones in general really that was the inflection point. I mean, obviously mobile banking and Pesa, things like that were already in the mix, but that's where it really kind of went into hyperdrive, it seems to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's about 5.8 billion mobile subscribers around the world today, and we expect that to grow to 6.5 by the end of the decade. Many of those people rely on their devices for online banking and for mobile device payments. Um, and in many parts of the world, as you've mentioned, in Africa and Asia Pacific, mobile money has become the key form of banking. Um, and over 500 million people around the world do use mobile money tools such as M-Pesa for their transactions, whether it's to buy goods and services, to save money, send money to friends and family. And about $4.6 billion flows through the mobile money accounts daily. And as mentioned, the mobile fintech has become really essential to modern mobile commerce today. It addresses critical challenges such as fraud prevention, credit scoring, and that's why the GSMA has launched the Connected FinTech and Commerce Community, and it is a global initiative designed specifically to drive progress in mobile fintech.
Well, your presentation at Finovate was around fighting scams, which obviously is very important. And security was, I would say, a pretty core theme of a lot of the presentations we saw and the demos at the conference. And GSMA has gotten very involved in advancing anti-fraud APIs. Can you say a bit about how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we see it, the scam economy has surged recently, and it's costing about 1 trillion globally, according to GAS's report in 2024. We try and coordinate this effort against scams across all our ecosystem, whether that's mobile operators, governments, regulators, and technology partners. And yeah, at Finovate, I focused on how the mobile operators are helping fight back against scams using network APIs. And this key focus area for us is known as the GSMA Open Gateway Initiative. And it essentially helps fintech firms more easily plug into intelligence and rich functionality that mobile networks can provide. And it adds extra layers of verification and fraud detection and risk analysis. Now, if we take a step back, the Open Gateway Initiative essentially offers a standardized approach for enterprise developers, including those in the financial services industry, to plug their new digital services into rich mobile network functionality using APIs. And as of today, there's about 85 operator groups participating in the initiative, and that represents 300 networks, and that's 81% of global mobile connections worldwide.
So
And so it's
over 4 out of 5 are already part of that, are
yeah,
covered within the breadth
exactly.
of that initiative. Wow, that's big.
It's huge. And we do think we've also got a number of the world's leading technology companies also involved in that. So it is much wider than just the mobile network operators.
The thing I jotted down, the sample signals that you're looking at, obviously, to detect scam. The thing that really caught my attention, the location and time of the most recent transaction, the frequency of SIM card swaps, which I know SIM card, fraud is a big issue. So knowing how often things are in and out, and I guess that kind of factors into KYC as well.
Yeah, and that's why I went to speak at Finovate, because we do feel like there's a lot of crucial signals that mobile operators have, but also looking at the financial services industries, they're having to deal with these issues day in and day out. And so what we want to know is, what are those key signals that they think could be useful to know, that they'd like the operators to be able to provide for them. So as you've mentioned some of the signals. One could be as simple as, receiving a phone call. That's quite a common one. When you're being scammed, it's often the scammer will call you. And so the Open Gateway APIs use a range of different signals, and the APIs themselves, as you've mentioned, scan signal, number verification, SIM swap detection, and know your customer, already being adopted worldwide to help financial institutions and online retailers.
I forget if it was your presentation or someone else's. I recall somebody making the point that some financial institutions are now sending messages saying, "We did not call you. If you are talking to someone, it's not us." Is that something that they're getting from one of your signals?
So yeah, absolutely. So essentially, when a legitimate customer is on a phone call at the same time as a scammer, and they're calling the bank will actually get a signal to say that we think that this transaction is fraudulent, and let the customer know, or they'll stop the transaction before it happens. And that signal is sent to the financial services organization, or bank in this instance.
That's pretty powerful. Now, yeah, I think you used the phrase scam signal already. I understand you're in a partnership now working in collaboration with FICO. And I think this is rolled out in a couple of countries, and not the U.S. yet, where most of our audience. I believe U.S. and or UK and South Africa. Can you say a bit about Scam Signal?
Yes, exactly. So it first started off in the UK, and now South Africa is the second country to launch Scam Signal. Um, and within the UK, there was really meaningful collaboration there that happened um, for the operators to come together with the financial services industry. And the MNOs have described this as game changing because it literally improved detection rates of up to 40%, whilst delivering a false positive ratio of 3 to 1 for certain strategies. And that's made such a huge difference. I know the feedback that we've received from the banks has been really positive as a result of that. And this particularly helps combat authorised push payment fraud, so APP fraud, which occurs when the criminals deceive the individuals or businesses into authorising the payments
Yeah, that strikes me
into
as
accounts.
the most kind of vulnerable for the purposes that you're trying to defend against. What does FICO's play in that mix? I'm not immediately seeing how FICO fits into that. I think of them as more credit reporting.
Yeah, FICO helped with the signals themselves in trying to bring together all the banks to figure out which signals and indicators would be most valuable to the
Got it.
industry.
And you're using the same signals? Are they kind of geographically distinct? I mean, is the ones that apply to the UK, the South Africa community felt was the same?
Sometimes they do change depending on the region. But I think, again, it depends on the deployment of what gets agreed between the financial institutions and the mobile network operators. So
And you
I would presume that within different regions, there are different signals.
and you've got the capability to do that. I've got it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
in the U.S., as I'm sure you know, is somewhat unique that we have thousands of financial institutions, banks, and credit unions. It's a wider array that can avail themselves of these services. The smaller ones, particularly credit unions, where I work and our listenership is heavily based, how are they best able to avail themselves of these services? I'm guessing the larger institutions are engaging directly with you. Would they do that through their service providers, like the Fiservs of the world and people like that, or how would they wind up being able to plug into these APIs?
A lot of the APIs are actually available on Kamara. So that's basically a repository of where you can find them. There's also, I mean, we more discuss sort of the potential of creating the new APIs and what they would look like and what would be useful for our industry as well as the financial services industry. And then the banks themselves we would connect them up with the mobile network operators. So we're definitely the bridge between everything, and then all the agreements are done directly between banks and operators.
Got it. And I'm guessing in the US, as I say, when you're talking about maybe it might be a consortium approach where the smaller ones who don't have the bandwidth to do it themselves, they may band together and, 300-400 of them might come together into one of those conversations with the mobile network operators, the service providers, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's different platforms for them to be able to come together and be able to work with a particular MNO or bank.
MNO
Yeah,
is
there's different
mobile network
conglomerates.
operator, I assume.
Beg your pardon?
MNO is mobile network operator.
Yes, sorry, mobile network operator.
Yeah, we've
We
got
use it interchangeably.
more than enough terminology, acronyms in financial services. I want to make sure I had that one right too.
Yes, no, you
So
did.
you are heading, and you've got this has to be one of the biggest conferences that I can think of. You're heading to Barcelona. The Mobile World Congress is, I believe, it'll be going on when this interview airs. I heard over 100,000 attendees. Is that right?
Yes, just a small meeting of
Wow.
100,000 in Barcelona. It is the world's largest and most influential connectivity event. And as mentioned last year, we had about 909 attendees. And during this event, we don't just bring together the mobile ecosystem, but the wider ecosystem. So there's a lot of things going on in fintech and open gateway and within security summits. Um, there's sessions on Tuesday around fintech and commerce, as well as how AI can keep tackling fraud. And then on Wednesday, I'm running a session called SecCon, and we're looking there at social engineering and how the banks and fintechs, as well as the mobile operators, are working to tackle fraud.
After the fact, any thought is that will there be maybe some videos available of those or some releases
Yeah,
about some of the
absolutely.
output?
All the sessions are recorded and available online. And you can also check out our website if you'd like to find out more about any of these sessions or about Open Gateway.
Wonderful. So I'll definitely be watching because it sounds like there may be some breaking news next week that we can kind of add to the mix after the fact. So for people to find out more, gsma.org, or what's the best way to do it?
.com, yep,
.com.
gsma.com.
Wonderful. Well, good luck with 110,000 of your closest friends next week in Barcelona. I can't even imagine how many cities are capable of even hosting a conference of that size.
Yeah, they do a wonderful job, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And for whoever's there, yeah, come and reach out and find us. It's look forward to
Wonderful.
it. And thanks for having me, Glen.
Samantha Kight, Head of Industry Security for GSMA. Thanks for taking the time. So as I said, and as Samantha said, there's probably going to be some more headlines coming out of their Mobile World Congress conference coming up in Barcelona, actually probably taking place quite likely when you're listening to this, or maybe even be over by the time you're listening to this. And we'll be following along to see if there's any headlines that are worthy of the financial services space that we should be looking at, and we'll share those in future episodes as well. As I promised last week, sharing my best of show ballot. I mentioned the winners, the best of show winners from the audience vote on last week's episode. Two of those folks who got my vote were the companies that I interviewed last week. A company called Tweezer, who did win best of show in the audience vote. Another one called Keyless that I liked quite a bit. And again, you can go back and hear my interview with Tobin Broadfoot from them and in their process of a really interesting twist on identity without having to retain any biometric information. The other company that I gave my vote to that was pretty tight competition. There were several others that I thought looked really interesting. A company called OpenTech, which may have been the most seasoned company on stage. They mentioned that they've been in business for 23 years, but we're really looking at a new offering that they're just bringing to market now. Basically, a buy now, pay later offering, and also kind of crossed with an instant issue card button that they're putting in-app into merchant applications, so that giving financial institutions a chance to counter what what OpenTech is calling increasing gatekeeping by the BNPL service providers. They're basically equipping the card issuers to provide their own version of BNPL and to actually recruit at the point of sale as people are looking to make purchases. I thought that was a pretty interesting solution. I'll post a link to OpenTech if you want to take a closer look at that. Another company that probably really made my heart beat the fastest of the entire event. Very, very young company, a real underdog called Hagbad. I think you'll understand pretty quickly what really caught my attention on them. And it really, to me, harkened back to the early days of the credit union space, too. So with no further ado, let's have a listen to my conversation with the two different representatives of Hagbad. Here at Finovate Europe with Samantha and Pepe Demisi with a application called Hagbad that I think you'll understand very quickly why it really resonates with me as we talk about this. Thanks so much for taking the time. Your booth has been very busy, so obviously you're striking a chord with people beyond me, it seems.
Yes, we have been, and I'm really excited that we've gotten this opportunity. We were actually awarded the Social Scholarship Fund by Finovate.
So just to explain, and you, this is something that you've grown up with, as I understand. The Hagbad is in English is taking turns. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, the meaning is taking turns of receiving a payout. My mother's actually currently in one as well. So I've grown up watching her participate in Roscas within the community, trusted friends and family. And I've also been handed lots of cash to deliver to my neighbour's house and knock on the door. It's very much trust-based, and there's a lot of support within the community.
So this is, I think, to put it in another term, community wealth building, group saving platform. Another term to maybe Susu, I believe.
Yeah, so
lending circles.
Yeah, it's known pretty much all over the world. It's famous in Africa and Asia, in the Caribbean islands. It's known under like Susu, Committee, and my country is known under Ukob, and many other different names all over the world.
And you're both part of the Somali community, am I correct in that?
No, just the founder.
Okay.
I'm Ethiopian.
You're Ethiopian?
But we're neighbours.
But it also is very common in both markets.
Yeah.
So, and Tibet, you're the one that did the presentation yesterday. The idea, and again, you pointed out, trust, I talk about trust all the time in terms of financial services. This is trust on steroids. You're talking about a very tight-knit group, and it reminds me of the early days of credit unions where it was a very, very small field of membership. There's a pride aspect. There's a not wanting to let down your community aspect, which really is what drives the reduction of payment risk, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of shame as well associated to it. That's very common within our communities. It's like if you do not make these payments, or if you're late on these payments, it's a lot of pressure and commit like a shame from the community that you don't want to live up to, or you don't want that sticking to your name. So everybody is very
but also really supportive and understanding, especially if someone's going through a difficult time. Sorry to be a bit morbid here, but recently there was a funeral where someone had died.
Who was part of one of these circles?
Yeah, that my mom's also part of. And we decided to put her payment forward so she could have support with funeral costs.
And again, is it randomly assigned in terms of who gets paid? And just to maybe walk through this a little bit more, everyone pays in on a monthly basis or whatever the interval is.
Yes.
And then one person actually receives the funds on a cyclical basis to make payments on any significant one-time cost.
Exactly. That's how it works. So imagine you had 3 friends, you pulled together £1,000. The total would be £4,000, and one person would take a turn receiving the payout of £4,000 until the cycle is complete. So the payout order is usually assigned by the group leader.
And what you're doing with Hagbad is basically building some more structure around this. And one of the things I love is it's getting rid of the credit and visibility of this community, because by something which usually had been totally off the typical ledgers, you'll now have track record that you have been a reliable payer. Yeah.
It's these are very credible, disciplined contributions that these people are making every month. They're paying towards these payments. They're not late. They're on time. If we can recognize them and put them towards give them financial identity, say to banks, hey, this user is loanable, this user is loan ready, then it gives them a lot of community wealth.
And it helps move the underbank to more mainstream financial services, so we sort of bridge the gap.
And there's also, I believe this would also resonate and appeal to the Islamic finance community, because it does not implicitly have interest.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It is Sharia compliant, so there's no interest involved at all. So it's an alternative form of accessing faster savings, lump sums without any interest.
Now, did this originally start as this is a for-profit entity, correct? You're building this as a business.
Yes.
And so it's a minor, was it a platform fee, or is it a minor slice of the revenue? What is the revenue model?
So currently we have a platform fee, a very small platform fee, and then a recognizable percentage of the transactions that we take. That's the initial plan of it. And then as we grow, the recognition of the contributions as credit activity and whatnot, that would be another point of sale in terms of putting that under a subscription. And then other different financial literacy building services and whatnot into the platform as it grows as well.
And I just learned just a few minutes ago, Shamad, you started this in university. This was actually a project that actually goes back that far.
Yes, it started from university, because originally I wanted to open a restaurant, but I didn't have any capital. I didn't know how to start a business.
Oh, you were going to start a restaurant? Yeah. Oh, wow. This is a great story. I love this.
Yeah, because I believe that my mum's food was 10 out of 10 compared to other restaurants that served Somali food. And we actually done a pop-up that sold out. It went really well, but I didn't pursue it further due to a lack of capital and access. And then I realized, hey, wait, if I just joined a group savings circle, I could have access to further capital.
I love that's the identification of the pain points like that is exactly the stories that I love. And then you two met at university, right? That's how you wound up getting connected through kickboxing?
We met during one of the kickboxing sessions at Westminster University. We were just doing some training, and then I found out about the idea. I studying computer science there, so I thought it's quite interesting, and it's something that I'm very familiar with. It's a very big concept in my country. I know my roommate does it, so I thought I'd join and help out as a developer.
So, I mean, obviously, this has such a community feel to it. I think you've actually received some grants to help move forward, but you're also in the funding process?
Yes, so we received grants from Hatch Enterprise and Unlimited, and we're also currently looking to raise this year.
So if people want to find out more, and I mean, at this point, you're doing this in the UK community, I assume, but you have broader aspirations, I would think. Right?
Yes, of course, to expand across Africa, the States, hopefully too.
Yeah, Europe as well, where we find a lot of European countries have these tight-knit communities as well, and they would be very keen customers of this kind of group savings platform. So we're trying to expand there as well in the future.
So if people want to find out more, what's the best way to do that?
So you can visit our website, www.hagbad.co.uk, and you can find the contact form and select partner with us and just send a message there.
And that's Hagbad, Hagbad.
Yes.
Correct? Taking
Perfect.
turns.
Thank you.
And you did a great job taking turns on your answers too. This worked out great. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
How can you not love an origin story that involves kickboxing and a pop-up restaurant that features a mother's Somali food? So I just love that. And, you know, I don't think we mentioned this. Shamad, who is the CEO and founder, wound up at the very last minute having a stomach bug and not being able to make it to do the 7-minute pitch on stage. So Tubebe, on very short notice, managed to get up there and cover it, and I thought did a very admirable job. I'm assuming he was involved in all the planning along the way, because he certainly did not seem underprepared. And but you also can see by hearing from Shamad exactly how that they're quite a tandem in terms of putting this together. I wish them all the best. I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing how they proceed. Obviously, it's a grassroots operation, very likely to be more UK focused for the time being, but I'll be watching along to see where that goes. So that was Finovate Europe, and really enjoyed it. Had a good time. Thanks as always to the Finovate people for allowing me to participate and share my thoughts on that one. And they got another conference coming up on the West Coast in May in San Diego. I'm hoping to make it to that one, but I'm definitely going to be at the what I think of as the flagship. I'm not sure they call it that, but it is the biggest of their conferences in New York City in early mid-September. So until then, many, many more conferences to come. Got another great conversation coming up for you during the week of GAC, and then we'll be coming back from that with our usual content. And I've already been told about a lot of interesting things going on this year. It should be a very active and a very large GAC. Have a couple of interviews set up. Our usual annual update from the America's Credit Union's economics team, where they see the economy going for 2026, and a couple of other things that I think are going to really be of interest to you. So be watching this space come the second week of March, and we'll have some of that. You can always find out more about the Best Innovation Group by checking out the website big-fintech.com. My name is Glen Servati. You can find me via my own firm, 154 Advisors. We're available on LinkedIn. You can also find me at the Best Innovation Group website. And if you go to the Media tab, you're going to find lots and lots of past episodes. We'd love if you continue to follow along. If you subscribe, we'll find out when we have new content, which is pretty much every Tuesday. Don't forget about CU Unplugged coming up in March. Hopefully you'll join us for that one too. We've always got the CU Town Hall. You can find out about that as well under that media tab. Always all kinds of fun stuff. If you're going to be in DC, definitely stop by, say hi, drop me a note. I'd love to track you down. I guess among our 6,000 or so friends that'll be out there at the conference and hiking the hill over the course of those few days. My name is Glen Servati, as always. Thanks for listening.
Check back each week for the latest from the Big Cast. Or better yet, we hope you'll consider subscribing for free via Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Tweet us at Big FinTech, email info@big-fintech.com, or visit us at big-fintech.com and click on the Media tab, where you can post a comment or check out our archive of hundreds of past episodes. See you next week.